So by now, it's not news that the SEC has completely changed. With Paul Atkins at the helm, well, let's just be honest here. We're looking at some pretty big changes happening from the SEC that will 100% reshape the way that crypto is treated and looked at within the US. And I also do think that this is the beginning stages of us achieving full-on integration of specific projects and tech within the US financial system, but also opening the floodgates for the big banks and the institutional players and even the enterprise players to get their hands on the tech as well. So with that being said, we have a lot to really kind of talk about. Number one, I actually want to address in this video what's been happening with XRP, why the entire altcoin side of this space is set for, major moves. I'm talking very, very bullish moves to the upside. And of course, XRP will probably lead the pack because XRP has so far, done a very good job. So sit back, relax. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. Let's dive on into this post here from Chad Steingerber because we do have a meeting upcoming and it's actually on May 2nd. So we're only a couple of days out from this, and we have May 2nd, Chris Larsen, Ripple, and the SEC, Paul Atkins meeting. Chris Larsen, the executive chairman of Ripple, plans to meet with Paul Atkins, the new chairman of the US SEC, on Friday, May 2nd, 2025. The meeting will focus on the future of blockchain technology. This could be a key moment for Ripple, XRP, and the entire cryptocurrency industry. Let's break down what this means and why it matters. Now, this is very important because, listen, today's the 30th, all right? So we are 48 hours out from this meeting. Now, could this be a very big meeting where we see the case being completely dismissed and dropped? It could, right? It definitely could lead to that. But more so, I'm very excited to see that Paul Atkins is taking meetings like this with some very prominent names from the space because it shows the openness to actually, get a glimpse into what's been being built around the space for well over a decade now. I mean, Chris Larsen is not some new name. He's been around the space for a very long time. So love to see this. I think that this is great. And on top of that, it really kind of goes back to what we heard about Paul Atkins. And this is actually just from the 28th. We have insight. Paul Atkins is reshaping the US crypto market as the SEC chairman, shifting from enforcement to rule-based regulation. Since taking office, the SEC has launched roundtables, softened litigation, and prioritized stablecoin laws, exchange registration, and even token classification. And this is all happening just over the last couple months. I mean, when we think about what Paul Atkins is doing in this new SEC, you could see the embracement. You don't need me to tell you it. You don't need anyone to tell you it. All you have to really do is look at what's been happening over just the last couple months around stablecoin legislation, around crypto, the SEC roundtables around tokenization and things like that. I think that that's great. I love it. I actually think that it's incredible to see prominent names from this space being involved in those roundtables because that's exactly what we've been calling for years. I'm sure that you guys probably know if you've been watching the channel for a while. Going back a couple years ago, I said the number one thing that we really need is not TradFi players here, around the SEC just telling us, oh yeah, crypto is bad because of this or that. The SEC needs to involve prominent names from the space because that's the best way that they get a glimpse into what's actually going on here, which is why I still think that's very bullish that Chris Larsen is meeting with Paul Atkins this Friday. I think that this is great. But on top of that, we also have Stuart Alderati. So this was interesting. So this is the CLO of Ripple, the chief legal officer, and we have great minds. Well, at least one for sure, his. And this was from the 23rd. So I'm going to go back a little bit on this. So the reason why I want to bring this back up is because we now have a confirmed meeting with Chris Larsen and the SEC. And we have here great minds because we have Atkins calls it time to end the SEC's waywardness. And we have the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, on Tuesday called it a new day at the Wall Street regulator in his first public remarks as the agency's new leader. Now, we have over here from Stuart Alderati, because he's responding on the 10th to an April 9th post, and this is the confirmation of Paul Atkins, and we have, it's a new day. Interesting. Very interesting. Again, it shows the alignment here, and it seems like a lot of people are trying to connect the dots here, but I find it very interesting that this is kind of like a coincidence, but I don't really believe in coincidences, so I really kind of just connect this. And it's for the best, I think, because, Paul Atkins isn't just a fresh name either. Like, this is somebody that's been very pro crypto for a while, and somebody that has spoken about the Ripple case in the past as well. And he even stated that, listen, we 100% need to get this case dismissed. We need to get it dropped because it just doesn't make any sense. But he also said that it's one of the biggest cases to focus on. But here we have, over here from Riz XRP, a top priority of his chairmanship will be to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets. It's a new day. Check it out.
A top priority of my chairmanship will be to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets through a rational, coherent, and principled approach. We will work to ensure that the United States is the best and most secure place in the world to invest and to do business. So, Mr. President, again, thank you very much for your graciousness in extending such a warm welcome to my family and me today in this storied room. I look forward to working with you, with colleagues in your administration, and with Congress to advance your agenda to bolster the economy and build on U.S. leadership of the global market. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Now, to build on top of this, we do know that Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, has stated over time how bullish Paul Atkins actually is to have at the SEC. He said it back in, I want to say December, and this is him on Bloomberg talking about Paul Atkins. Check it out.
The whole idea that this wouldn't have been brought under this SEC, have you had that specific discussion with Paul Atkins and with David Sachs?
Well, Paul Atkins hasn't yet been confirmed. He's a very knowledgeable guy about this industry and has been for a long time. But I've had conversations. I won't comment on specifics with certainly, I think David Sachs would agree that this is a case that didn't make a lot of sense in the beginning. Again, there was no investor harm. This was about Gary Gensler waging a war against this industry.
The whole idea that this wouldn't have been brought.
So again, this is a clear insight on what Brad Garlinghouse thinks of Paul Atkins. And like I said, even back in December and even throughout December into January, the entire Ripple team has been very pro Paul Atkins. They've been very supportive of Paul Atkins at the helm. They've even been talking about the change in the legislation landscape and even the regulatory side of things because, we see the moves that Ripple has been making. Acquisitions, adoption, growth within the US, job offerings. So it's pretty clear that the US market is now open for business for crypto. And some of these very large companies like Ripple are definitely, using it for their advantage. Now, on top of that, we also have over here new SEC Chair Paul Atkins states he is eager to attack long-festering issues such as the treatment of digital assets. The USA is now pro-crypto.
Assets and distributed ledger technologies, and working with my fellow commissioners and the staff in doing it, and soliciting outside input as well, obviously. So this is important work as entrepreneurs across the United States are harnessing blockchain technology to modernize aspects of the financial system. I expect huge benefits from this market innovation in terms of efficiency, cost reduction, transparency, and risk mitigation. Market participants engaging with this technology deserve clear regulatory rules of the road. Innovation, unfortunately, has been stifled for the last several years due to market and regulatory uncertainty that, unfortunately, the SEC has fostered. So I look forward to engaging with market participants and working with colleagues in President Trump's administration and Congress to establish a rational, fit-for-purpose framework for crypto assets.
Now, as we do really kind of see the landscape shift here, what are we thinking about? Well, we're thinking about utility-based projects, and we're thinking about what the big players are talking about, what they're trying to address. There's actually a recent interview on Thinking Crypto 1, Tony Edwards' YouTube channel, and this is actually from Ernst & Young's crypto tax leader talking about, the big banks and how they're excited and how altcoins are up next, and even whispers of capital gains exemption. Big shout out to Subjective Views for finding this clip. Check it out.
I'm curious, with the repeal of SOB 121 and this favorable environment, are you seeing demand from banks? And I'm talking the big banks.
Yes. Yeah. That was a major barrier for a lot of the banks, and so we are, actively involved in discussions with a lot of the, the major GSIPs. They are wanting to offer various types of products to their customer base. And I think, to start, right, a lot of it's going to be basic custodying, basic buys and sells, right? You're seeing ETFs. You might see, a lot of those ETFs were kind of focused just on Bitcoin or just on Ethereum. I think you probably might start seeing some more kind of diversified multi-coin type of operations. But yeah, the banks are excited, and because they are again, it's kind of this general sentiment. I think we're hearing a lot of whispers around this capital gains exemption altogether for made in America coins. All I've heard is whispers on that. Right. Nothing substantive, so don't quote me. But I think there's some enthusiasm around that potentially being in this bill as well. And if that happens, I mean, you're gonna see a huge ramp up, right? And so it's I think the banks and the the digital everybody's kind of preparing for this.
And this is exactly why we're also focused on the ETFs, because, if the big banks are starting to get excited, that obviously means that, TradFi and Wall Street's here in a huge way. And I think that's very clear, right? Like, we now have, the big news about the pro shares, right? ETFs around XRP. Their 3 futures ETFs are going to be launching today, the 30th. Now we're still looking at the spot ETFs, which, if we actually go over here, Crypto Airy did put out a post regarding the spot ETFs and their deadlines. It looks like May is going to be a huge month because we have 4 of them pending a decision. And then outside of that, we have Wisdom Tree, CoinShares, and Franklin Templeton on October 25th. Now, a lot of people have been stating that these are going to have to wait all the way until October 25th, and then all of them will get approved. I actually think that it happens sooner. I think that it's going to happen when we least expect it. Probably will happen over the summertime, if I had to guess. But I do think that May could definitely be a huge accelerator month for all of this, because if we're thinking about one of these ETFs getting approved, all of the rest just kind of fall in line. The approval of a futures ETF typically happens first. And if a futures ETF is getting approved, it's only a matter of time until the spot ones get approved. But the thing that I'm really looking at is, the focus on altcoins. I do think that altcoins are up next. XRP's Bitcoin chart is so coiled up. It's ready for a big expansion to the upside. Ever since we hit that top back in January, all we've been doing is just consolidating here, waiting for that next big move to the upside. This next big move to the upside is also going to correlate with dominance breaking out in a big way, which, if we're really kind of looking at the dominance chart, this thing looks really, I would argue it's ready. It looks ready for a huge expansion. We just found a lot of support right around the same support back in February before we tried to break out. We failed to break out, but I do think that this could set XRP on a path to retargeting 10+% of this entire space. And if we're thinking about that and we go to $7 to $10 trillion in market cap, you're talking about almost 700 billion to $1 trillion market cap just for XRP, which is wild. But again, it just goes to show you that sometimes time in the market is better than trying to time the market. And I've stated this many times over. XRP is looking golden right now. It looks great. All the fundamentals around it, outside of even TA, fundamentals on XRP look very good at a time where we're starting to see the market open up in a huge way under this new SEC. I think that it's only a matter of time until, utility is focused on and talked about a lot more by the big players. And I definitely look forward to the future. I look forward to the next couple weeks and even months ahead as well, because I do think that altcoins are up next. Just looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart, just looking at, the altcoin chart, it looks like altcoins are going to really start their uptrend here soon. And that's going to lead to alt season. I know it sounds like a myth at this point, but no, alt season's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's brewing in the background, and you definitely want to focus on it. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.